Oh my God, I almost just forgot that I'm introducing. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Taylor and I have been chatting for a hot minute,
Like an
at
hour.
least an hour. So I just kind of forgot what we were doing, but welcome back to the podcast.
Welcome, everybody. We're happy that you're here.
We're happy that we're here.
Yes.
What are your updates for us?
Okay, you guys, I just am so confused about this whole thing. Maybe Brittany isn't dead. She posted like a video.
She is not dead. I actually think I just saw her post something today.
I am so confused about Britney Spears' life. And so I'm just going to stop trying to figure it out and just, I'm going to take a step back because it's honestly too much for me to handle right now.
I think we just let her live. I think
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with us
Letting her
discuss.
be. Just let her be.
This is what she posted today, just now.
Oh, a nudie.
God. I have a beautiful gift for you all. Yes, that's it. Traveling and seeing the world in exotic places is definitely a way to find peace in your mental health in all ways, your mind, body, and spirit. Then there's a bunch of stuff, but
you know what?
People will definitely say this isn't her face.
It's not. It 100% does not look like her, but you know what, Brittany? You do whatever you want. If you want to post nudes, I think you should do an OnlyFans to be paid for it, but your body, your choice. Do what you want. Maybe you're not dead. I don't know. It's too much. It's way too much for me to deal with.
I still stand by what that radio show brought up, and I think that she has hurt feelings often. She's crazy, and we just need to let her live.
Yeah.
I just give her a little heart every time. I don't do anything else. I don't message her and say, what the fuck, this isn't you. I just give her a heart.
I don't love to see nudies, but you know what?
But we're still liking them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I give her hearts too, because that's me just like sending my love to her clone, her body double, her dead body. Who knows? Just send her love.
I like it.
There's my only pop culture update. Not been following this week because I've been obsessed with Christmas movies and I just love them. They bring me a lot of joy. And yeah, I love them. I'm shocked that I'm just now loving them.
They just bring peace. They're a happy, good movie. I watched that Jana Kramer one that you texted me about this week. Huh? I watched it last night. Totally ended up crying at the end. Like,
me too. I was bawling. It was so good.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this one really got me. And like sometimes they make me tear up. Most of them do, but like I don't actually cry. Last night I definitely like tears were falling, and Henley like looks over and she like gives me a hug, and she was pretty invested in it too. So it's a very good one.
So good, huh?
Yeah, she's so pretty. Wow.
Yeah, watch, you guys. You only have a few weeks left to watch Christmas movies. What's it called? Fixing Up Christmas?
The Holiday Fix Up, maybe?
Oh, yeah. It's on Hulu. Highly recommend. It was so good.
I watched her other one that came out this year with Mario Lopez. I'm pretty confident I rented it off of Amazon. I paid money for it, and I will say I enjoyed the storyline. I enjoyed her, but Mario Lopez kind of sucks at acting.
I do not like. Have you actually seen that movie with Melissa Joan Hart? It's like an old Christmas movie, and it used to play on ABC Family, and they're like acquaintances and they fall in love because she's pretending like that he's her boyfriend.
No, I don't think so.
I'm going to have to find that movie because that one was actually really good too, but he actually acted well in that. He is not a good actor at all.
No, he was like cheesy and stale. I would give him that. No.
Yeah.
In pop culture news on my end, the Sister Wives with Kody Brown are crumbling. Like, I haven't been watching for probably about 2 years now, but I still follow them all on social media. And that family, I think 3 of his wives have now divorced him. He only has his 4th wife left, and she's like, I believe in plural marriage, bro. And he doesn't have any desire to find more wives. And he Yeah. It's just insane. I just found out
Why are all
today.
these ladies? So polygamy is down my sister's trail and down your trail. That you guys all love it. I don't really follow it that much. Like, why are they divorcing him?
Well, if you watched the show, everyone could see that he's a total fucking dumbass of a human being. First of all, I would never allow him to get into my pants for sure. um, he just doesn't care for his family. And like one of them ended up divorcing him. I can't remember the reason why right now. It had something to do with like she wanted to move away and be closer to her family because she didn't feel any support by him. And so she moved away because their kids are like all growing up. And like, I think because of the modern day of the world these days, these kids are growing up and they don't want that polygamy life, or they move away. And then the moms, like, all they have are their kids because their husband sucks balls. And so they want to move to be by their kids. And then he can't because he's got all these 16,000 children.
How
So
many
she moves
kids are
away.
involved?
I think he has 18.
He's like
Yeah.
Nick Cannon.
Literally, but Nick Cannon might be a better dad. So that one
Wow.
moves away. They end up getting divorced, apparently. The other one, Janelle, he was like neglecting their kids aggressively, having all these fights, causing all these issues. The kids didn't want to come home for like the holidays because he is like literally too arrogant to apologize to them. He forgot one of his kids' birthday and talked to him on the phone. And like when his kid told him it hurt his feelings, he like didn't even care. So the kids are like having boundaries and not wanting to like be around him. And he's like, well, they just should suck it up and deal with it. I'm not apologizing to them. So I think because he was dividing their family, she was like, fuck you, Cody, I'm out too. So she gets divorced. And now Mary, who was like his first wife, who he neglected so much, she just finally decided to divorce him today too. And I read the article, and she was watching like the reunion special. So they do like a sit down with the wives. So like their season must have just ended. And here's a clip for the first time of him saying like he doesn't know why they're married. He doesn't even want to be married to her. And she was like, well, I guess he just decided, like, because the interviewer was asking, she's like, well, he told me we were working on stuff. I was invested. And I guess he's already decided like we're not together.
Wow, maybe this is some drama that I need to pay attention to.
Yeah, it's like good tea. Also, it's just reckless chaos and disgusting all at the same time. So the sister wives are definitely finally escaping polygamy. I wanted to let you guys know that we mentioned our sicknesses last week, and I don't know what the sickness is.
Oh no.
But like every week am getting flare-ups from it. Every single week I'm getting fevers for like a day. I'll get like a random fever throughout the day on just one day. And then I can't, like, I have dumped out more wine and coffee in the ever since we got home from LA than I ever probably have. Like, I'll have half of my coffee, even my Starbucks. I can't even finish my Starbucks. Like, something is wrong.
It's interesting that you say that because I've been the same with coffee. It like is super upsetting to my stomach.
It's not upsetting to my stomach. It just like doesn't taste right. Like, my taste buds must be off or something from my sickness, because certain wines like that I normally would drink, I've just been like, I don't want it. And I've been dumping it out.
Interesting.
Like whole bottles or half bottles. Like, it's weird. Or like if I had
supplies dwindling.
Like if I had like some left and it was almost bedtime, normally I would just like hurry and chug it because like it's good and like why not? I'll just look at it and be like, nah, I'll just dump it out. Like, I spend a lot of money on wine.
Yeah,
like,
that's so weird.
And it's weird to me to dump out my Starbucks too.
Yeah, that is weird. But honestly, like coffee, I've had no appetite for coffee. And like, if I do drink it, it just like really hurts my stomach.
Mine, I'm wondering if it has anything to do with like sugar, like maybe sugar's like not tasting right to me or something, because all of them have sugar in it. I don't know, but I thought that was weird. The other note I wanted to make is Taylor and I have like a shared document that we like put notes in for the podcast, and today I got on to go put my notes in when I had like a quick minute at work, and I just wanted to highlight what an Enneagram 1 does, because I got on there and I immediately just fixed all of the grammar errors, because I have like a weird problem with that. And then I forgot what I was doing and I never put notes on it. So I have my trusty notebook because at that point I realized it didn't make sense for me to do it anyways. But like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, why do I do these things?
I mean, it's just your personality. Me, I like chaotic notes.
I
It
was just
makes more
like, oh,
sense.
grammar. Oh, grammar. And like part of it is that I have like a grammar editor on my browser. So like it puts a line there. So I can't just leave the line. I can't just be like, I'm not actively like, oh my God, this grammar. I don't
I
fucking
think you're the
understand grammar.
police.
That's why I have a fucking Grammarly that tells me better grammar. I don't know it myself, but so I just think that my personality is pretty weird like that. And Enneagram ones are so peculiar and it's just kind of annoying. And I appreciate you letting me be an Enneagram one.
It's fine. I appreciate you letting me be an Enneagram 7 because it is a little bit of a shit show.
I mean, you've probably noticed like when you make content for the podcast, like I'll go in and change words. I'll go like move shit around and like add something different. And I'm like, why can't you just let Taylor have her post the way that it is? And I'll be like,
it's fine.
I don't like that. And then I'm like, you're such a fucking bitch. Like, what is wrong with you? But
it's honestly not concerning to me. It's fine.
I think because I know it doesn't offend you, it does. I know that it's not a problem, but I was like, I should probably address the elephant in the room.
It's fine. That's so funny. Oh man.
The only other actual update I have is that I'm doing a workout program, which if you follow me on Instagram, you can see it because I have to post about it every day, which is not my preferred thing to be forced into doing that. Like, I think I probably post about my workouts decently enough, but every day is a bit much for me. Brittany Quinn is who I follow and she does a program and it's actually really legit. And I just want to like drop a little plug that if anyone needs help just being part of like any type of lifestyle, healthy fitness community that's like helpful but no pressure, like this is one that would be really helpful for you. And it's actually really cheap and all of her workouts are at home. Like her like rest days are here's a couple stretches to do it, or how to be part of the challenge is just like posting something, even if you didn't move your body, even if it was like a mental movement, like it counts. And I think that that's so huge because most people don't let that count for things. Like they don't applaud you for even just participating. And I feel like it's like participation points alone are just like helping these people. And I'm like in this accountability group and I'm like hearing these people talk and I'm just like, wow, she's really like helping people. So I just wanted to like, if you are looking for something to just like help you start the process because you maybe don't have the motivation or you're too intimidated to like start on your own, like this one's legit and you should really look into it.
And I will be doing it in January. So if you guys want to do it with us, let us know because I'm definitely going to give it a shot.
Yeah, it's been nice to like mix it up. I definitely was like neglecting my strength training with the Peloton app. So it's like actually helped me do strength training.
That's great.
So that's pretty much all I got.
My last update is a little update about my wedding. I realized I just haven't really kept you guys in the loop of it all. There's not really much going on because it's Christmas and Christmas is kind of taking precedence and I still have time. So my only update is I've hired a photographer. I think she's really great. My pictures from my first wedding were god awful. So I expressed that to her and I think it's going to be great. So that's exciting. And not much else has changed except for my Pinterest board. So
have you gotten a wedding planner yet?
Like a planner that like you write in or a person?
Yes. Well, not a person. We've talked about this, like an actual planner, paper planner to help you.
I have not. I just have a note thing in my phone.
You could also like the Knot is super great. They have their online planner. That one's pretty dope, but I feel like you just need to like look at all the things that people talk about for the wedding because there's a lot of dumb shit that goes into it. And I think you just need to decide, am I doing that or not? And like crossing it off so you don't have to like stress about it, but it will like really keep you on target.
Yeah. So yeah, hold on. Wow, that sneeze came out of nowhere. Sorry.
Was
I'm
it just
gonna
one
deal-
sneeze?
Yeah,
Did you know that I heard that's like a spirit thing?
that there's a spirit by me.
I've heard that like if you sneeze just once, it's like a spirit, like there's a spirit or something or a ghost.
Go away.
I need to Google it. Hold on. You keep talking. I'm gonna Google it.
So yeah, I am going to like really dive in to the wedding planning in January. I just really wanted to get through Christmas, and I really do not want to look the way that I look right now on my wedding. So I'm really just focusing on like really sticking to my goals of losing weight and kind of fixing the mental stuff I have around weight and about losing weight and emotional eating and all of that. So that is my focus right now. I'm very excited. I don't know. I'm not a big wedding person, so I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that, but that is my update about mine and Tony's wedding. He did call me his fiance today, and that was like super weird because he's trying to find a new therapist, and he like was telling me about it. He's like, yeah, I told him my fiance, and like he spit out this whole sentence, and then at the end he's like, that felt really weird. A fiance feels weird. I was like, yeah, that was weird. Like, because we've still been calling each other like our spouses this whole time, like husband and wife. So yeah, it was weird. I've always thought the word fiance is like weird. So
I also think that word is weird, and I don't want him to say this in front of me. I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was super, super strange. So I don't know. We just start kind of weird about weddings, I guess. Like,
it's because you guys have been, yeah, like I'm saying, I don't want to hear him say that in front of me. That feels cringe for some reason, which is so bad because like this is such a normal, exciting thing. But you guys have just been so solid and together for a minute that it's like, wait, what are we doing? I'm confused. One sneeze means that someone is talking about you positively, not that you have a spirit.
Thanks, you guys.
So someone, maybe it's a spirit, is talking about you positively. This is actually a pop culture thing, but it actually ties into our episode. I wanted to talk about Twitch before we decided on our episode. Twitch, Steven Boss is his real name. He was on So You Think You Can Dance. He was also the fake DJ on Ellen's show, and like he was the bomb, and he just ended his life this week, and I wanted to talk about that, and then suddenly it became our topic. So that's how I want to transition because I'm just really upset about it, and I can't understand why I'm upset. It's so weird how much this has impacted me, and like that just doesn't make sense, but like it makes sense, you know?
Yeah, we had like another topic kind of like halfway planned, and then this whole situation happened, and Shelby posted something that like really got me thinking this morning on Instagram, and I was like, we actually need to talk about this. And like there's been a few like really healthy and good conversations that have come from it. So it's good to like talk about suicide, talk about mental health, and like warning signs and feelings around suicide. So this episode may get a little bit heavy. It may not, or it may, who knows? But yeah, that's kind of where we're going tonight with all of this.
Definitely a trigger warning for anyone that struggles with these types of conversations or isn't in a place to hear it, but we are going to talk about it in a positive light, I would say. Not because it's a positive topic, but we just want to kind of break down awareness around the prevention or the signs and help provide learning opportunities for all of us to just kind of see how we can all be a little bit better around it, I guess. Part of that conversation is because like I kept seeing a bunch of people, like celebrities, everyone just like posting like, please reach out if you're struggling, please reach out. And I just, every time I read one, I was like, thank you for sharing that. But also like, no one can fucking reach out when they're at that point. Like, that's not what they do. They don't understand. What the fuck?
What?
My watch just went off. Do we have spirits?
I think we do. I'm gonna light some Palo Santo while you're talking.
I just
Did
got
you just
really
see my light flicker.
I just got really uncomfortable.
Ew, stop. Oh, I'm gonna throw up.
Oh my God, I have the chills now.
I
Is this
just got
why
so nauseated.
is this why I've been freezing?
Oh,
So that's why I like posted what I had posted. Some of you that follow me had seen it. But like I just kept thinking in my head, like, I love that people are saying this. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying that, and there's nothing wrong with being open to people reaching out to you. I just want to also highlight that we all need to learn. We all need to get more understanding and awareness around it, because I know for me personally, like, this is super vulnerable, but I've thought about committing suicide multiple times in my life. Like, after I was raped, that was like a frequent thing in my life. Like, I think I brought that up on our episode that I talked about it, but like, that was a thing. And at zero point was I like, I'm going to reach out to someone because I want to die right now. Like, that literally didn't ever once happen to me. And then there's been a couple times since then that I've been like, the only solution I have is to die. And like, that's super sad to think about. But even when I had those thoughts, what I was doing was sitting in my closet crying, thinking about how I could kill myself, not thinking about who I could text to help me. And so I wanted to point out that like, people don't have that strength sometimes, because once they get to that point, they're already so low. How can we start identifying their behaviors and reaching out to them sooner, or even just being kinder in the world so that they don't get that low? And maybe they still will, but that's where I think the conversation comes from on my end of why I just want people to learn more, including myself, because I still need to learn too.
yeah. And I mean, I'm going to be completely honest, and this isn't me bragging or anything. I have never ever contemplated suicide because death scares me so much. And there was one time in my life after I had my affair that I was like, the thought was just like, would the world be better without me here? And that was enough for me to scare me enough to be like, holy shit, like, absolutely not. Like, even though this feels like my rock bottom, I still don't want to die. So that's not me like trying to be like, oh, I'm better than you. Like, I've never had suicidal thoughts, like, whatever. That's 100% not me. But like, and that's why it was so impactful when Shelby posted that, because I was like, it doesn't make sense in my mind, like the thought of people actually wanting to die. And that's a me problem. Like, I need to be more aware that like, this is a really big and a really real struggle for people. And I need to recognize that like, everybody's not me. Like, that thought alone was so scary to me that I like reached out to my therapist and was like, this thought just crossed my mind. Like, that's really scary, but that's not a reality for 98% of people. So that it's just like Shelby's post just made me realize like, I need to educate myself more about this situation, because that's not fair to me to realize that people are in a place that they can reach out to somebody, you know?
For sure. That's actually, when I was doing research for this, it's called suicide ideation. And like, I hadn't actually heard of that. So I was looking into it, and it's where people just think about it, but they might or might not include a plan to die by suicide or want to die by suicide. And I know for sure, like, I don't think I have depression. I don't like, and I think that that's one of the things that I learned also with this research is like, we need to be more aware that just because this is happening, it doesn't mean they're depressed. Like, suicide or ending your life, like whatever term you want to use, it doesn't always just come because someone's depressed. It happens with mood disorders. It happens from trauma. It like anxiety disorders can increase suicidal behavior. Like, I can't even remember the statistic I read. I probably should have written it down, but like, having anxiety alone increases that for people. And like, there's been plenty of times where I've just been like, God, it would just be so fucking nice if I could just die, so everyone realizes how much I fucking do for them. That alone is a ideation. Like, do I actually want to die in that moment? Absolutely not. But for a second, I'm kind of like, I hope one day I'm just fucking dead and these people realize like, holy shit, we took advantage of her. And that's because I'm fed up in life. But it's also like, it ties into what people go through. Like, even that thought alone, not everyone has those thoughts. Not everyone has the suicide ideation alone, but that's some kind of mood disorder or anxiety or trauma that I have, where that happens, you know, like it's just crazy to me how like I hear people talking all the time like, oh, depression's such a thing and all of this happens because of depression. And it's like, I think we need to get a better understanding that like there's so many things that can actually make this happen and it's not just depression. And sometimes they don't have depression, maybe it's something else.
I think that like I love all the talks about mental health and I love that mental health is being recognized, but I feel like terms like anxiety, depression are thrown around so loosely that like it's not always anxiety, it's not always depression. Like it just because you have one bad day doesn't mean that you're necessarily depressed. Like just because you're in a bad season of your life doesn't mean that you have lifelong depression. Like it's just so loosely thrown around that I don't think people fully recognize and understand when people actually have depression, actually have anxiety. It just I don't know. I do love that it's talked about a lot, but it's just not really understood, I think.
I don't like that it's a buzzword now. It's like an excuse word sometimes. And that's sad to say. It doesn't make it right that I said that, because that's like, that actually sucks for people that have it, because then they think that everyone thinks they're just making an excuse, because so many people are using it as an excuse when they actually don't even know if they have anxiety or what anxiety feels like. They just hear people talk about it. Like, think about how many times you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so depressed. Like, you're saying it casually and loosely. You aren't depressed. You feel sad, you know, like, and so those terms have just become words that people are saying, but they don't actually have the actual feelings of those, you know. I think you have a bunch more that leads into the things that I have, so I'm going to let you kind of take what you found about this and then I'll add to it probably.
Okay. So I really wanted to start, like, I love statistics, but I think it's just important to know that like this is a very big problem in our world. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the US. One person dies by suicide every 11 minutes. It is the second leading cause of death among people ages 10 to 34. And that was shocking to me. 10 years old, these kids are thinking about suicide. Like, that is enough that for parents and people around the world to open their eyes. Like, no 10-year-old should ever be thinking about suicide. So that was sad to me. And it is the fourth leading cause of death among people ages 34 to 54. The fifth leading cause of death among people ages 45 to 54. So statistically, suicide occurs most frequently among people 45 to 54, which is a lot of like midlife crisis type ages. And so that's just those statistics are very eye-opening to me. Women are more likely to attempt suicide, but men are more likely than women to complete the act. So groups of people who have higher rates of suicide include American Indian / Alaskan Native and non-Hispanic white people, veterans, rural dwellers, and young people who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender. And I just really wanted to make a point here because there is a lot of talk when it comes to suicide that suicide is a selfish thing. And I really want to point out that suicide is not selfish. It may seem like that because that person's gone and your family and friends are left here having to deal with you being gone. But from the people that I've known, been aware of, that have committed suicide, they truly think that they are helping the situation. They think that they are removing a problem from like their family's lives, and that's not the case. So suicide is not selfish, and that needs to stop being said, in my opinion, because I don't know, it's not a selfish act in the person who's suicidal's mind.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there have been people that are like, I'm going to do this because I want to hurt somebody. Like, there's probably situations where that has happened, but I still don't think it's selfish in that point, because there's something has happened that makes that person so done that they feel like that's how they can get them back. Like you probably have done something, and that's not selfish at that point. You like so it's just, I totally agree with what you're saying. It's really sad. Like me, when I'm like, I hope I fucking die so everyone realizes how fucking important I am to them. Like that is a selfish act. If I actually acted on that in that moment, that would then be selfish because it comes out of hate rather than like, how can I make this better for everyone, including myself? That's more likely where it comes from for people.
And I like that you bring that up, because when it says that women are more likely than men to attempt suicide, that is like such a cry for help for women to be like, please recognize me. Please notice the things that I'm doing. Like I am in pain, because I think so many times women are just like brushed aside of like, oh, they're just being dramatic. Oh, they're just emotional. It might be their period, like whatever. Like it should be something really eye-opening that like a lot of women do attempt suicide. A lot of women do have suicidal ideations. Like that is a very, very real thing, because being a woman, I've been told multiple times, like, oh, you're just being dramatic. Oh, it's not that bad. Like, are you hormonal? Like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm actually in pain. So it's important to bring awareness to that as well.
It's also really sad to me that men are more likely to go through with it because men are so good at covering up their emotions. Like women, especially, we're going to be telling people through our actions, our conversations, like literally whatever, like people always know what women are going through, I think, but it's because I'm a woman and I get women, I think sometimes. But like, it's sad to me that men, no one really ever knows what men are going through very often. And like, they're so willing to go through with it because they've been covering up so much of their life for so long and covering their emotions and masking, and like their feelings are never validated because they've been taught that they're not allowed to have them. Like it makes so much sense that they're more willing to do it because they're fucking done at that point.
And working at the ketamine clinic has been so eye-opening with men and mental health, because they are taught to not show emotions, that showing their emotions is too feminine, that, men cannot be emotional. I cannot tell you how many men I have seen completely break down, probably their entire life worth of crying in the treatment rooms, because it's a safe place and they have to just let it go. Like men's mental health is so neglected. And if you're a guy listening to this, I know we don't have a ton of guy listeners, but like, it's okay to show your emotions. It's okay to like, be like, hey, my feelings are really hurt, or hey, I'm really stressed out. Like that's okay. And that should 100% be more normalized, because men's mental health is so neglected.
Well, and like with that, I think it's so important for us as spouses of them too, or even partners, whatever the situation is. Like it is so, I know Wally more than I know myself. Like I can pick up on his moods, his energies, so many things immediately, like immediately. And it's so rare of me to be like, hey, is something bothering you? Are you okay? Do you want to talk about anything? I don't ever really ask him, like, do you want to talk about anything? Are you okay? I will be like, what the fuck's going on? Like, are you pissed? Like, I'll approach it and like already a stance that's not going to help him ever open up. Like, I have to change that. Like, I have to be willing to see that like he's just as equal of a human with emotions as I am. And I wouldn't want him to ask me that. I'd be annoyed if he asked me that. So like, why am I doing it? And we're part of the reason that they continue to do it, because we're not inviting the conversation very often or meeting them with much empathy when we have those conversations. Like, I know that I'm not trying to generalize all of us. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of women out there that are actually really sweet to their husbands, but I'm kind of like, I'm very point blank with my husband.
Yeah, it is hard. Like it is hard to talk to a man about his mental health. It was very hard, and it still is difficult to break through to Tony sometimes, that I'm like, just tell me what is going on. Because I mean, I'm not a man, I don't know, but I feel like men just like, I think that they think if they just cover it up, it will just go away. And that's not the case. Like you still have to confront these things. Like you still have to talk about it. So it is really hard to like break that barrier with a man to like get to the root problem of their feelings or their anxiety or their emotions, whatever it is.
Well, and I think that like even the way you said that, like the first thing that like as you were saying it, your tone changed. And it's like because we have to pry, our tone starts to change where you can tell like they know we're irritated at that point where I'm like, I can tell something's wrong. Just fucking tell me. And it's like, then I'm now changing the dialogue even further because I'm irritated that he won't just tell me instead of being like, I can tell that something's wrong. When or if you're ready, I would love to be there to talk to you about it and dropping it. But for some reason, I'm like, don't fucking be pissed. What's going on? Let me help you. And then I'm just making it worse because he's going to climb up more and be like, I can tell in your tone this isn't going to be a good conversation because now you're annoyed. You know, like,
yeah. Yeah. And something that's very interesting, like when I started at the ketamine clinic, is they're so big about it being a safe place, like a safe place to let your walls down, a safe place to like just be yourself and confront your traumas, confront your emotions, whatever it is. And it made me kind of realize like, I have always tried to make my home be a safe place. And so it's interesting that like you do things without even realize that you're doing it. Like my bedroom is such a safe place to me. Ever since like I had my own apartment, like I was so big on making my bedroom comfortable and cute and cozy. And it kind of just hit me that I was like, it's because I want it to be my safe place that I can go to at the end of the day and cry if I need to, laugh if I need to, like whatever it is, I want that to be a safe place. So I think it's important like to pay attention to how you're treating your spouse, how you're treating your kids, how you're treating your friends, to let them know that like, hey, I'm a safe place. Like you can come to me about whatever it is and I will be your safe place. And it takes practice. Like, you know, it's not going to change overnight. Like, especially if it's with your spouse, it's not going to be like tomorrow you're going to be like, hey, Wally, let's talk about this. Like it definitely is going to take practice, but it just is something to be aware of, to be a safe haven.
Well, and I think that that's like part of every part of our episodes, every topic we talk about. We're not ever saying anything of like, okay, now we've had this conversation. Now you listen to this podcast, go do it today and you're going to be a better person. The conversation alone is just to bring awareness for you to start thinking. At that point, it's up to you to decide what actions you want to take from all of it. But even just stopping and thinking and processing is your first step. And from there, don't let the conversation end, you know, like don't let this be the only time you're sitting and thinking about it, or until the next person on the internet is being shared. That's when you start thinking about it again. You know, like that's what keeps happening is we keep seeing people losing their lives and we're like, oh my God, that's so sad. But it's taken until this Twitch one for me to be like, oh my God, I've got to get more informed. Like I need to be more aware.
Yeah. So that brings me into my next point of warning signs to look for. The first one is really like in your face. Like if somebody talks about killing themselves, if they say like, I have no reason to live, if they are feeling extremely helpless, or if they feel like a burden to others, that's like a huge sign of we need to open up this conversation. Also paying attention to people's changes in behavior. So if they're drinking more, if they begin using drugs, if they're withdrawing from activities, giving things away, isolating themselves, sleeping a lot more, or showing big signs of aggression, that's also a very big warning sign. Paying attention to people's mood changes. So more anxiety, more depression, more anger, they're feeling or expressing shame, or extremely irritable. If they have attempted suicide in the past. A lot of things said long-term pain or terminal illness will make people turn to suicide. And yeah, that was something that I actually didn't think about, that people who are in long-term pain or they have terminal illnesses, it may just be an easier opinion, like an easier thing in their mind to just choose to end their life. So that is definitely something to pay attention to. If they're having money or legal problems or family problems, if there's changes in appearance, and of course, if there's any mental health disorders, that makes the rate of suicide go up a lot higher. So schizophrenia, bipolar, long-term depression, anxiety, things like that.
I think a big one too is postpartum for pregnancy, which is weird that it wasn't on that list now that I think about that. That's a huge one. That one, I think I've watched so many people I know have children, and even though I'm noticing that like they're struggling because they're a new mom, I guarantee they've thought how hard this is. I don't want to do this anymore. And that alone, saying I don't want to do this anymore, is a thought towards that direction, you know, like postpartum is wild.
I'm sure. I am sure that it is completely wild.
I actually have some notes about what you should say if someone tells you or you're noticing like any of those signs. I think one of the biggest ones too that I wanted to highlight on your list is the irritability. Like the second something goes on, they're immediately triggered, they're lashing out. Like those are huge ones for sure that I think, like there's sometimes like my sister will be like her fuse is a lot shorter sometimes, and I like sometimes I think like, damn, what the fuck is your problem, instead of being like, is she okay, you know, like we're so quick to respond in like a, why the fuck are they freaking out so quick, and instead I need to start being like, do I need to ask if she's okay? Like I need to change that to think that first before I'm like, oh, okay, she's just having a moment or something. But I need to start changing that in my head, you know? So if someone says something to you or you're noticing one of those signs, especially if someone's like, if they tell you that they're having that thought, the biggest thing that I researched and saw like consistently was like, literally just ask them. Like it's that simple. Just say, are you having these thoughts, or are you thinking that your life doesn't matter? Something super simple but point blank like that. And like let them know like, I'm not judging you, I just want to be aware and listen. And that's kind of like, you don't need to, don't offer them advice, don't offer them judgment, literally just be like, I want to be aware and I'm here to listen, and just stop there.
And I love that you brought that up, because that was like the number one thing that Psychology Today said, was to ask people. And they gave like a list of questions that are really good. And they are, how are you coping with your challenges? Are you thinking about hurting yourself? Are you thinking about dying? Are you thinking about suicide? Have you come up with a plan for taking your own life? So those are very like point blank questions that may be a little bit hard for you to ask. I know that some of those would be hard for me to ask, but they are just to the point. And like, if somebody is struggling with this, there's not really any way that they could deny it when you just point blank ask questions like that.
Yeah. And like Wally and I have come up with something like that for me. Like I don't have like, it's weird because I don't feel like I just want to end my life, but there's been times where I'm going through something so hard that it got me to that point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be here. And like, I can't really talk a lot about it right now, but like I'm dealing with a bunch of stuff. And at some point, I hope I can talk to people about it. But when I was talking to him about going on this journey, I told him, I'm like, I'm worried about my mental health, because when I've had to face this before, like I wasn't okay. I wanted to die and I wanted to leave my family and I don't want to go there. And so I told him, I was like, I need you to be aware of me. I need you to be paying attention to me. I need you to like literally just ask me, like, are you good? You don't have to say anything extreme. Just say, are you good? And that's what I need. I need you to have that check-in with me. But like that took me coming to him, you know, like, and sometimes people have that ability to do it and sometimes they don't. But if you know of someone that has situations like this, come up with a plan with them. Like if you have a friend, a family member, a coworker, like whoever it is, like let them know, like we don't have to like say it for what it is if that makes you uncomfortable if I'm checking in, but I want to be able to check in with you. What will make you comfortable? What works for our relationship that we can ask it without asking it.
And I love that. At my old job, I actually saw this happen. It was a girl with her best friend, and they had like a certain emoji that if the girl was feeling suicidal, that she would send just this one little emoji, and she knew like, that's my sign that things aren't okay. So then like they had a whole plan that they would, whatever they were doing, whether the friend will go pick her up, take her to the hospital, whatever it was just one single emoji. And they like, that's huge, because sometimes you can't text somebody and be like, hey, I'm thinking about suicide. Like sometimes you only do have the energy for one small thing. So I think that that is fantastic advice and a huge thing. A little bit goes a long way.
I agree. I also think that's so cute of them.
I know, right?
Which also now that I'm like having this conversation out loud, I can't even believe I'm fucking talking about all of this. Like, who the fuck am I? Like,
I know. I'm like,
what the fuck? I'm probably gonna be like, what the fuck for like 16 times after this, but whatever.
no, I'm just kind of letting you do your thing. But yeah, I'm also like a little shocked.
I don't know what's going on with me. Anyway, so awkward. Okay, so it says, do not offer advice or judgment. Let them know they aren't alone. Being present, open, and listening is literally all that matters. Letting them know that you care and that you value them and that they have value is a huge thing, which I think is really important. Like, I don't think when I've been in the situation for myself, I've had to like have someone talk to me about those things. I don't know how it would feel, but I could imagine like if someone's having that conversation with you, I could imagine them needing that. I personally really just wanted to be alone. I don't think I actually would have ever had the balls to go through with any of it, but I was just having mental breakdowns. Like that's literally what it was for me. I really just wanted to be alone and cry. Tell them that you want to offer help or support however they'll let you, that you want to help call a therapist for them, find a therapist. Do they want you to reach out to their therapist for them? Literally anything that you can do to like, I know it seems hard, like whatever step you can think of, like what can I help take off of your plate is really like what they suggested a lot. And then another one was like, don't panic or be weird once someone tells you like, or you notice something. Like if you ask the question and they do actually respond, like I was thinking about this, like if my child, like, because this applies to adults or children, like if I asked my child, like, are you having thoughts where you don't want to be alive? And they said yes, like I could not panic in that moment, but I would probably want to panic and be like, are you fucking serious? Like, wait, really? You know, like I wouldn't respond that way, but I would be panicking internally. And I want to be prepared moving forward that if anyone ever says something to me, if I ask, that I'm like, holy shit, I know what I need to do, instead of like, oh my God, what the fuck, you know? So don't panic was like a huge, huge one. And another one that I thought was like a helpful tip was like, it's okay. Cause like along the don't panic lines, like it's okay to tell them that you're concerned. Like after you hear them say that, be like, what I heard you just say is this, or I'm understanding that this is how you're feeling. And I want you to know that has me concerned. I'm here to listen and talk about it.
And that is a huge thing. Psychology Today, can't talk. Psychology Today also said that one of the mistaken belief is, one of the mistaken beliefs that is that talking about it to a person in danger encourages the act. And that is a big myth when it comes to suicide. And sometimes I think that it might make people feel better to be seen. If like you said, if you say, I heard you say this, I think that at least in my life, that would be like, oh my God, they're actually listening. Like, this is what I needed is I needed to feel seen. I needed to feel loved. I needed to feel like I was worth something. So don't shy away from having these conversations with people, even though it's hard, even though it's uncomfortable, especially for our generation, like Shelby and I's generation, because growing up, like mental health was so ignored. And like, if you did talk about suicide, if you did talk about anxiety, if you did talk about depression, you were weird and you had problems. So it's hard for our generation, I think, to kind of move past those fears, but it is very important to talk about and push through those feelings of being uncomfortable and being there for that person that you're concerned about, if that makes sense.
One of the things I also read said along those lines that like, if you repeat something back or kind of explain to them what you heard them say or break down a little bit more of what they said and repeat it back to them, sometimes that alone helps them be like, oh my God, like you're like, that's not what I want at all. That's not what I like meant to say, or something like that. And that helps them like take a few steps back, and then opens the door further for them to realize they like need to start working on getting more help or anything like that. Another thing that was like huge at the end of the research I saw on what to do when someone like tells you or talk about it is, it was like, you cannot control or change someone else's behavior, period. No matter what. What or how much you love someone. Wait, oh, how much you love someone or show up for someone or support them does not change if they will end their life. Their life will be ended if they want it to end, and it's not your fault at all. Like, and it's so true. Like, I think sometimes I actually had someone reach out to me when I had posted this stuff and was like, but also doesn't that like provide, I don't remember how it was worded, like guilt of like,
I could
if you are having that conversation and they do it, like, is that going to give like survivor's guilt? Maybe. I can't remember what they said. And like, I think that's a really good perspective. I think that's a really good question to ask. I think it's natural, no matter what you do, to feel that way. Like, no matter if you're involved or not, you're going to be like, people are feeling it that are close to people that do it anyways, of like, I should have reached out. I should have done this. It's going to feel that way no matter what, I think.
I think that that's a very normal part of the grieving process that I'm learning is, I mean, my dad was dying, actively dying for years. And even still when he died, there was instant thought of like, I should have done more. I could have done more. I think that that is a normal part of grief, to feel like you could do more. So yes, I think that there definitely could be some survivor type guilt, but as long as you are aware and as long as you have these conversations, I think that that's the best that you can do. Because if somebody truly, truly, truly wants to end their life, they are truly going to do it. As point blank and as hard as that is to say, sometimes you just can't save people. And that's just the unfortunate part of life. But you can do as much as you can. And that's why it's important to have these conversations.
Yes. Another thing I have is with along the lines of like trying to understand people, or if you're noticing the behaviors or you're looking for those signs, or you know that someone struggles with it, like the biggest thing along the lines of literally just asking them, like, sometimes you have to be as blunt as, tell me how you really are right now. Like, no bullshit. Like, literally say no bullshit. I don't want your pageant answer. I don't want, like, I'm asking you because I literally want your true answer right now. And sometimes it can feel really aggressive or like blunt or whatever you want to put on that title. Like, but sometimes that's what they need, of like, okay, they're really asking. They're not doing that. Like, you know how I feel about small talk. I don't fucking want anyone to be like, how are you? I know when Taylor asks me, how are you? I know that it's like an actual, hey, I actually really want to know how you are because I know you're dealing with something, you know, like most people really do say like, how are you, in a way of like, hey, how are you? Instead of like, no, bitch, how are you?
Like,
you know,
how are you actually to your core?
Yeah. Like, so it's a bit different, and you have to make sure that you're doing that. Like, there's people in my life right now that I'm like, I need to be doing that more. I need to be asking like, no, what's the real story? What, like, how do you feel right now? Another thing to point out with like the signs and looking for it and like being aware, is listening to your gut. I think that that's a huge one. I was just telling Taylor today, like, there's so many times that at work, it's so easy for me to identify in an employee the second they're off, the second something's up. I'm like, hey, something's up with this person. We need to figure it out and be there for them. I'll try and reach out to them and talk to them. Like, I'm big on taking care of my people. And it's so easy for me with employees, but it's really different for me in my personal life. And I don't know why. But like in my gut, in my personal life, there's times where I'm like, I need to do something about this. I need to like be aware, but I'm ignoring it. And so I think especially with your children, listening to your gut, like, you need to be aware. Like, if you can't listen to your gut or feel your gut, that's a whole other conversation, but like, you probably are having those things. So pay attention to that. Make sure you're actually noticing people for who they are and what's happening in their life. I think that's why it's super easy for me with my employees, is like, I'm heavily wanting to know them, their life. I want to know how they are. I want to make sure that when they're coming to work, it's a good place. That they, I don't know, that they can come here and just be happy, because I know that work can also be like a really happy place. And so in your personal life and your work life, notice people and notice what they actually have going on in their life. Ask the question of like, what's going on? Like, if you're open, I'd love to hear like what you have in your personal life. If it's stressing you out, if it's happy, like whatever it is. Notice their image. Is that changing? Are their clothes different? Are they dressing different? That's a huge, huge one. There's so many times in my employees that I notice that they stop dressing nicer, I guess you'd say, like in quotes, like the less professional, less care for themselves, less care to put themselves together. That one is a huge one. Like if people don't get ready or they don't wear the clothes that they're normally wearing, that's huge.
I think a big thing to point out too is like, it seems something so simple, but like if people aren't washing their hair, and not like let's just use dry shampoo for the 5th day in the row because I just don't want to wash my hair. Like if their hair is nasty, greasy, stinky, like that is a huge sign that somebody's mental health is struggling. And it is something that it should be so simple to be like, oh, duh, I should have noticed that. But like paying attention to people's hair and their face. And if they usually wear makeup and all of a sudden they stop wearing makeup, like that's a huge sign that somebody's struggling.
Think how many times people are noticing that and just being like, oh my gosh, how gross. That hair was so gross. Why aren't they washing their hair? Oh my gosh, why aren't they wearing makeup? We are so quick to immediately be like, And instead, we need to be saying, that's weird. What can we do? Like, is something going on? How can I ask? Like, there's been times with my employees that I've just straight up been like, hey, is everything okay? Because I'm noticing that like, it doesn't feel like things are okay. Are you okay? Like, I literally say that. Like, they might be offended. It might offend them that I'm suddenly like, hey, I'm noticing something different. That's okay. I don't mind that, because I want them to know like I'm noticing something. But I think the hair one's a huge one. I love that you brought that up. Behaviors is a huge thing. How they spend their time, I think, is a huge one too. Like, I think especially in children, it's a huge one. Like if your kids literally don't want to do anything, they don't want to get out of bed, they don't want to play video games, they don't want to hang out with friends, all of those types of things, or even if they're doing it too often, they're probably running from something. They're probably trying to cover up something. Like if they're on the go constantly and they don't know how to sit still, that's a big one too. Or if they're having stomach pains, they're constantly like, my stomach hurts, my stomach hurts, my stomach hurts. Check in with them. They have anxiety probably, and also are probably in a really sad place.
100%.
I think that might be it. Wait,
I just have one more thing to add to that. Make sure you follow up with people. Don't have it be like a one and done conversation. Like showing that you care is by actually following up. Like if Shelby was to ask me about a hard situation and then never bring it up again, I would be like, well, why the fuck did I even tell you about it in the first place? Like, obviously you don't fully care about it, you know? So following up, being like just a real friend and being like, hey, I'm just checking in with you. Like we just had a situation with this like the other day that we checked in with somebody. And we're like, hey, how is this going? And that's hugely important, because once people start to open up to you, you want to keep that line of communication open. And I truly, like, if you're going to share these things with me, I truly am invested in it. And I am not going to just ignore the fact that like you have something huge happening in your life. Like I'm going to follow up on it. So that needs to be something that like you definitely need to do, is just make sure you're following up with your people, make sure you're following up with the conversations, and just keep that line of communication super open.
Yeah, I think you have to make sure you're being intentional. And like, even with that, like, as you were saying that about me, like there's times where you and I talk about something and I know something's hard and I like, it'll feel really last minute for me, but I'm actually really insecure in our relationship about like, am I reaching out to her enough? Because you're so fucking good at it that it makes me be like, oh my God, like I'm the fucking worst. I keep forgetting about these things.
No,
I do,
I don't think you're the
but
worst.
like I do try really hard sometimes, but I'm always like, God, I need to be better at like remembering these things and being more aware. But with this person that we reached out to, like I talked to Taylor and I said, I want to reach out and I'm nervous because I don't want them to think that I'm pushing or I'm like prying in their relationship. And that's something that we do. We play that game in our head of like, I don't want them to think that I'm like obsessed with their situation. And I just want that, like, we worry about them thinking it's coming from a negative place. And finally, I was just like, fuck it. I need to do it because I really want to know I'm genuinely wanting to be there for this person. Hopefully that comes through, but you will play that game with yourself and you have to like, just do it. Like, don't dick around about it. Just do it. The last thing I had that I forgot to mention was make sure you're being sensitive about these types of topics, especially when it's being discussed in a group or out loud. And especially when you have children. Like if I was having a conversation with Taylor and I was talking shit about how I think people that commit suicide are selfish, or I think that everyone's just depressed and need, like they're babies and like, why can't they figure it out? If I was saying anything, even like those are super extreme, but even if we were having a conversation, my child, a friend, whoever is feeling this way, they're going to hear how we're talking about it and they're not ever going to want to open up. They're going to be like, these aren't my people. I could never tell them, they'll judge me, like whatever. So just make sure that when you're having conversations about it, especially out loud, that you're being sensitive to who's going to receive that information and that you aren't painting it in a judgmental or negative light.
100%.
That's all I got.
Yeah, I think that's all I've got too. Actually, I have one more thing to say. I think overall, the message that should be taken away from this is just be kind to people. And one of my friends posted that on Instagram. It's been such like a weird day. So many things about Instagram are making me think today, but she posted like, check in on your people and just be kind. And I think that needs to be said of nobody knows what people are going through behind closed doors. Even Shelby and I, there's a ton of stuff that we're going through and we are so open and share so much of our life. And there's huge things that you guys don't know. Like people don't know things that are going on in people's lives. That Twitch guy, he looked so happy. He just had his freaking 9-year anniversary 4 days ago. Like you truly never know what's going on in somebody's head. You never know if the day that you're having a bad day and you're rude to somebody at the grocery store, that can be a huge deal for them. So just be kind to people, no matter what their political stance is, no matter what their opinion on gay people are. Like all of these crazy politics that we have going on in our world right now, like put those aside. And at the end of the day, just be kind to people.
And like, make sure that your people know you love them. Like constantly let them know. Like I literally said to Taylor the other day, I said, when I hung up the phone with you, which we don't ever talk, you didn't say love you. Like
you did. Yeah.
I literally like, well, the second I hung up, I looked at Wally and said, she didn't say she loves me back. Like, what the fuck? Like,
and I feel bad about that.
Point that out to people. I know that you love me. You mostly I'm being a smartass, but it's
no,
but
real, it's true.
Like, I don't tell Jaden near enough how much I love him. It's awkward. He's awkward. Our relationship's awkward. It's a very weird situation that we're in. And all the time I'm like, I just want to tell him how much I love him. And I don't. And that's so sad. And there's days where I have to literally wake up and say, make sure at some point today you tell Jaden you love him. And like, it's so stupid, but those things matter. And you have to be reminding people that they matter, that you love them, that you care about them, even if it's hard. And even if you want to be a dick at the grocery store, meet them with kindness and go vent about it later. There's been plenty of times I'm still nice at the store and I get in my car and I get on social media. I'm like, fuck you, whatever that lady at Hobby Lobby that didn't like my glitter, you know, like I was still nice to her. I didn't have to ruin her day. Like that could have been the icing on the cake for her that would have ended her life. You never know. And be nice. If you need to go vent about it to somebody, but you don't have to actually be rude to someone. That's not going to change their behavior.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, kind of a heavy conversation, and that's going to continue in the asking for a friend. So thank you everybody who has submitted. Remember, these are anonymous. We don't know who you are, and that has definitely made our asking for a friends a lot more deep. So this one today is hashtag asking for a friend. Does anyone else think that it's fucked up that trauma can be held in your body forever and put through hell and back over and over again, even though it's been years since the traumatic situation happened? My answer, short answer, is absolutely. I think it's extremely fucked up.
I also think it's insanely messed up, and I can't understand why God made things that way. Like, why? I don't know. I don't understand why this is the way that things are. I don't understand why it has to be like, I constantly am questioning all the time, like, why is it that certain people go through certain types of trauma? Why is it like a trend? Why is it their thing? Like, there's people that deal with death. There's people that deal with sexual assault. There's people that deal with depression. Like, it's a theme in people's life and it doesn't go away. It's consistent. It's always happening. And you're always like, why does this always happen to this person? It's insane. It doesn't make sense. And it totally fucking sucks. And there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah. And it is extremely fucked up that is the way that bodies are. That's the way that life is. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is, and we just have to kind of adapt. There was that podcast with Chelsea Handler. I actually reference it a lot. I need to link it for you guys because I've actually shared it with a lot of people too. But that podcast with Chelsea Handler that she had that medium on, that has literally like changed my thought process about death. That was kind of like my first introduction about dealing with death. And she explained that, like, with her interactions with the other side and the things that she knows, that our soul signs up for the trauma that we receive in our lives. And so wherever you're at, when you're a soul, you sign up and be like, okay, my thing that I'm going to deal with in this life is death. I'm going to have fears around death. And that's going to be what I sign on. People sign on to lose their children. People sign on to have sexual assault happen. Like, that's a choice that you make as your soul self. And that's kind of what you signed up for. And it just kind of makes me think of, like, there's something higher, whether you believe in soul bodies, whether you believe in God, the universe, whatever it is, there's something higher that knows that you are able to deal with the traumatic situations that you have. And sometimes that's the only thing that gets me through. I know I'm going to get through this because this is my assignment. Like, this is my assignment on this earth, is to do this and to make lemons out of lemonade. And I know that I can handle it. So I don't know. I'm not explaining it as well as she did, but it just really like opened my eyes that I was like, I signed up for this. Like, I can make it through this.
I hate myself that I picked that, but also like, yeah, if you have to make a choice, like, I guess that's what I'm picking. It's so true though, because they always say, like, you're not given what you can't handle. And I always remember that, like, when I see people posting like, why is this so hard? Why does this keep happening? Why is my, like, I can't get out of this. I just keep thinking, you're at that, like, you're doing what you need to do because you're being given the challenge that they already know you can handle, that you can already handle. It's just meant to bring you more clarity, bring you more healing, bring you more, like, every single thing that everyone goes through is helping everyone around us. If we had no pain, if we had no struggles, if we had literally everything was peachy, none of us would have any substance in life. Like, we would be dumb as hell. There would be no purpose. And like, just think of this conversation we just had. Like, if people weren't here to deal with these types of issues, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We wouldn't be gaining awareness. We wouldn't be gaining empathy. We wouldn't be gaining kindness. Like, it's just all part of it. It does suck. It sucks that your body holds on to it, because I'm dealing with that a lot with my own stuff. And I just keep thinking, like, how the fuck do I rewire this? Like, when is this going to go away? And the answer is, it's not going to go away, but I will continue to go to therapy to figure out how to make it hurt less, help it not show up in my life as much, help it be easier, help me process it more, help me be able to help other people process it. So the only thing you really can do is work on that trauma in your body and finding a positive spin on it, like toxic positivity, I guess, because it literally won't go away.
Yeah. There was this quote I saw one time and it said, you can't really appreciate flowers unless you have rain or something like that. And that is so true. You can't really appreciate the good things in life if you don't have the bad things as well. And that's just the way that life is. And it's unfortunate, but it really does make you appreciate the good, beautiful things in life, because there are really shitty, awful things that do happen. And that just, it sucks. It sucks.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. It is crazy. It's weird. It doesn't make sense that we're meant to experience pain, but it's so true. Like, that's what brings you gratitude. That's what makes you have peace at the end of the day, to be able to sit and be like, wow, this feels so peaceful and so good. You can only feel goodness if you felt sadness.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you guys, I think that is our episode. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, please reach out to us and keep this conversation going with people in your life. Share this episode if you think somebody needs to hear it. And let's just normalize mental health and talking about suicide a little bit more. Make sure you like, comment, review, follow us on Instagram. And yeah, we love you guys and appreciate you all. And we will talk to you next week.
And to all, a good night.
Merry Christmas, bitches. Bye.
Bye.